And we welcome you to another episode of Hold My Cutter, coming your way here, burned by Rocky Patel, just a few blocks down the road from PNC Park. And our special guest has offered us his favorite stogie. This is our smoke of the week. This is the number 6. I don't know what you're going to say, Michael McKenry.
Yeah.
The Marte. It's an Andorran wrapper. It's got the Honduran Nicaraguan blend for filler. It's got notes of vanilla and cocoa, which I think we're tasting now, hints of black pepper with a spicy, nutty finish. And it's a really good smoke. So, Joe Block, thank you so much for the recommendation, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Glad to be here.
It's sweet and spicy.
I just got back from Honduras.
Yes, very good. You brought with him this time. Met with Rocky Patel about the whole thing.
Great. Rock's doing good. He sends his love, by the way.
Oh, good. Thanks. You said Rock is doing
well. That's what I call him.
Well, yeah, John Wayne.
The real Rock.
Rock and Rocky.
Yeah, rock and rock. Yeah.
Joe Block is of course Pirates broadcaster, radio and TV. One of the kindest, most decent men I've ever met.
Amen.
Extremely talented, smart, just an absolute treat to have on the broadcast. Other broadcasters and I often talk, and our director of broadcasting, our boss, about how fortunate we are that we have gathered, including Michael McKenry, who does pre and post game on the TV side, but how fortunate we are to have a bunch of guys that truly enjoy being with each other. I mean, I love being in your company, Fort, of course, and likewise with Joe. Anyway, it's just great to have Joe Block here with us today. Joe, thanks for being our guest.
This is great. Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, by the way.
Well, thank you. Does it feel, by the way, you're into your 9th season, does it feel like 9 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Is it really 9?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's gone fast.
That went
it's been
fast.
Great. Yeah. No, it's been awesome being here. I feel like I've been at home, and it's just a lot of fun. As you know, I mean, when you get to call games at that ballpark, the best ballpark in America.
Yeah.
And be in this city doesn't get better.
Joe Block was Johnny Cash, that song "I've Been Everywhere, Man." Joe Block has been everywhere.
I can't wait to hear all this.
Oh my gosh, what an unbelievable story! First of all, you're still not quite over that Lions loss, are you? Huge Detroit
Watching
Lions
that Super
fan.
Bowl. Did you see that? I'm thinking. Did you see what AB tweeted? He said the Lions would be up 31-10 right now against either of these teams. I mean, they couldn't score, and I kept thinking to myself, I go, the Lions, they'd be beating the tar out of either of these teams right now, but they didn't win the game to get there, so that's okay. I grew up in Detroit, and so those guys, Rock will tell you, so these guys, I was crying when they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. We were in Atlanta that night. We go watching the game and had a couple thousand of these
coffees. This is nice coffee, really good.
This coffee, by the way, is in a very nice,
delicious,
stylish mug. By the way, this is
Bucko Pirate mug. This coffee is, we've talked about this before, and some of our other guests, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't know, Bern makes some of the best coffee in the area.
Really do.
Isn't that delicious?
from Honduras.
Yes, yes.
And vanilla.
That's right.
You made me spit out my coffee. Sorry, made me laugh.
Don't be none of that.
No laughing.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, I guess I wasn't there that night, but I guess you put on quite a show.
It was quite a show
down in Atlanta.
Yeah. So that was
the word. You were drinking a lot of coffee.
Yes, a lot of coffee that night. About 16 of them, if I remember.
That's a lot of coffee.
Yes, it was. Yep, and they come in buckets there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. The bucket shop.
And but then so that was game 1 of the season. So you can imagine that they had a title game. Yeah. Oof.
So did you really grow? Did you go to Lions games as a kid? Even
no, because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So, but watched them all the time, and they've been so bad for so many years. But you know what? It's funny. Like I don't know if it works like this with you guys, but I watch a lot. Well, Lions, and I watch a lot of football, and I watch a lot of hockey. Pens fan, so I watch Pens. So I watch a lot of these other sports, and then I couldn't help but understand being a Lions fan since I was a little kid, and how they just there's torment, and there's like, you just can't quite get there, you know. But I think, you know, a lot of Pirates fans, there's a lot of parallels in some ways. And so I just kept thinking about that, and just how I'm watching this game, or I'm watching this team or this season, and seeing how exciting it is. And it's almost kind of come out of nowhere the last couple of years. Young team, they've drafted a bunch of guys, and all of a sudden they've gotten good together real fast. And so I was thinking to myself, I go, could this be like how the Pirates are operating? And it helps me feel like, you know, I haven't been around, you know, the last several decades, what Pirates fans have gone through. And so hopefully maybe this is a little bit of a mirror, you know, with what the Lions have done, and maybe Pirates fans can enjoy the same thing.
So I love the comp, because we've talked about this before. I grew up a Chicago Bears fanatic when they were horrible, but never stopped being a fanatical fan.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if they were back then. They played, might have been 14 games when I was growing up, but they didn't sniff the playoffs. They barely ever made 500. But I just loved each and every week, with the hope, the idea that they're going to get that win. So you can certainly relate to that. You don't abandon your team. Because they're not winning. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So like last April, when the Pirates get off to that 20-8 start, I'm thinking like, wow, this is, you know, you just get, I don't know, I was getting
caught
crazy.
up in it.
I was getting crazy,
You're what?
He was getting crazy.
Getting crazy, yeah.
Like on the air crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We don't hear each other. No, we don't hear each other.
So
I have the privilege to listen to both you guys. You're both outstanding.
That's hilarious.
And you're exactly right. You were getting super excited.
That's hysterical.
It's like, I'm like, I really want this so bad, you know. So that's what's neat about just like thinking about those kind of parallels and stuff. It's like, well, this could kind of happen here. So, I don't know. I get excited. Hopefully that it's going to be coming for the Pirates this year.
Tigers fan growing up too?
As a kid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's like,
Again, you grew up in the Detroit area.
Like the 80s, like mid 80s on, you know, early 90s, when I was, you know, growing up. That was, and then they were pretty good a lot of those years too. So, so that's kind of what got me into baseball. I remember I was 6 years old when they won the World Series. And I don't remember a lot from when I was 6. I don't know about you guys, but I remember everybody. There's a street called Gratiot in Detroit. It's like the big thoroughfare, and like everybody's cruising Gratiot, honking their horns. My dad, you know, loaded me up in the '57 Chevy pickup, and all right, we're gonna go cruise Gratiot and honk our horns. And I made a sign on a piece of plywood, you know, "Go Tigers" or something.
Oh, wow.
Tigers '84, I think, or something like that, you know, permanent marker on it. I still remember that, and I didn't know what was really happening, but I just remember it was fun.
That's
to
awesome.
celebrate, and so
what
the
a cool
next year I started watching baseball because I was told what it was about. My great grandparents, I had a lot of great grandparents still living when I was growing up, and they were all big baseball fans. So I really learned the game from them, and so they taught me about watching baseball. I'd sit watch games with them, and that's how I kind of. That's I was about 7 years old and got into baseball that way.
Wow! Did you have a big family? Sounds like great grandparents.
Yeah. I mean, they're all dead now.
Well,
they're all the old great grandparents are dead.
Yeah.
Wow. How about the great grandparents? Are they?
They've since passed on.
Oh, they have. I'm sorry. Too soon.
Yeah.
We've really brought
too soon.
We've really brought this show down now. but that's how I got into it.
You know, so Tiger Stadium then.
Tiger Stadium.
Memories of old Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, that's where I'd always go to games. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Tiger Stadium. So.
And did you broadcast games?
I never got to broadcast a game, but I get the last year that it was open, I was 21.
Okay.
So it's cool. I got to go there as a kid, and I got to go there when I was 21, so I could have some coffee.
Oh yeah, good coffee at Tiger Stadium too, I believe.
Not as good.
Not quite like this. No.
But I got to go in and be an intern. I interned for Dan Dickerson when he was working for WJR, and Dan Dickerson now calls the Tiger games.
How did you get that internship?
His wife, so this is a Tigers play-by-play announcer, his wife was one of my journalism professors at Michigan State, and she had just started, and she tried to get some of her students, hooked up with her husband. It's like, hey, you should go down and, you're interested in baseball, you want to do play-by-play, so does he. Why don't you go and get to know him a little bit? So I got to go down, get sound, talk to players, interview them post game, that kind of thing in the locker room or clubhouse, and so I got to do a little bit of that. I got to stand in the booth, which was hard to get into, but I didn't get to call games. I wasn't calling games yet, but it was really cool that I got a little bit of all the experiences in that ballpark before it closed down. So it was really neat. So yeah.
Never got a chance to meet Ernie Harwell, did you? Or did you?
Oh yeah,
You did?
He and I actually became good friends.
How about that?
Through Dan and going up there and then. But then also, so when Dan started, it was 2000. I went to Lakeland to go to some spring training games, and Dan introduced me to Ernie, and Ernie, of course, was just so genial, so wonderful, such a nice man, and took a genuine interest in anybody that really wanted his help, and so it really took off from there. I started working in the minor leagues in that year, and so I would send him stuff to listen to, and he would take time, and we'd talk on the phone. And then when I moved to Minnesota, when they came in to play the Twins, we'd have lunch, or when I'd go back to visit my family in Detroit once a year, we'd sit down and have lunch, and so it was really a special relationship to get to know him, because if you grew up in Detroit or Michigan, really, and listened to Tiger games, I mean, when he lied in state at Comerica Park when he passed away, and they opened it up at 6 a.m. and at midnight there were still people in line.
Incredible.
Wow.
So just to give you an idea of what
an
he
impact
meant to Detroiters and to people in Michigan. So and then he meant that much to me too. And I'm just so lucky to have had
Unbelievable.
those experiences with him. So
sounds like the Yoda.
Yeah.
Tis Yoda.
I was, we broadcast games at Tiger Stadium. One of my first years there, I guess when we started doing interleague games, of course, the rickety old press box, and well before the game, I'm sitting there doing my stats and my numbers, my head's buried in the book, and I sensed that someone had made their way down the steps and it was seated next to me. I guess I assumed it was maybe Blast, who was my partner, and I'd already seen Steve, so I had no reason to kind of look. But I kind of stopped and for a second, and I hear Greg, I don't want to interrupt you. And I look, he goes, Ernie Harwell. I went, haba. Are you kidding me? Ernie, he goes, I just wanted to see if there's anything I could do for you. Anyway, so as you got to really know him, that was kind of the extent. And I wouldn't say I became good friends with Ernie Harwell, but such great respect for such a kind and great broadcaster. But we've talked about Yoda's mentors over the years. Mike Lang is one of mine. You were a big Mike Lang fan, listening to Penguin games in Detroit, right?
Yeah, that's so weird. Yeah, and thanks to you, I got to meet him, which was a great thrill. And when I met him, it was between innings. You had him on, and he goes, "Hey Joey, how you doing?" He knew my name. Thank you for setting him up. But I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, I grew up listening to you. So this is before the internet, back in the 1900s when I was growing up. And,
that means I grew up in the 1800s. So
no. So but I would listen to AM radio. I couldn't get a date or have friends. So what I would do is,
thanks two of us.
So I would, I'm a teenager and I'm in my room and I'm like fooling with the AM dial trying to find out of town stations, and you could, on a cloudy night, you can get a whole bunch of them. So I could get KDKA a bunch, on 1020. So when the Pens late 80s, early 90s were on KDKA still, I could tune in the games. And Lang, of course, is just so unbelievably colorful in the sayings, but also his description of hockey. I really got into life. I got into hockey because of him. And watching Hockey Night in Canada and Don Cherry too. But I'd say 50-50. So, but listening to Lang, I'm like, wow. I actually wanted to be a hockey broadcaster because partially because of him. I thought. I don't know. I might want to do that, and so I actually studied French, and
oh my gosh,
in high school, and I thought, okay, I got to get ready to be a hockey broadcaster. I've never broadcast a hockey game in my entire life, but
you still know French. A little bit.
Je parle but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, hello,
Yes.
Sally.
but I don't know how that all didn't work out because I didn't really go for any hockey jobs. But,
Baseball stills your heart, though. Let's be honest.
It was always my favorite sport.
Yeah, it
and,
stills your heart.
It just kind of worked out. Like I didn't realize for hockey there's a couple minor leagues, but baseball there's a lot of minor leagues, and that's really easy to kind of get in somewhere and start. And so I should probably just go with baseball. And I guess it worked out, so that's good.
It worked out great.
Yeah.
One question I have, and I've asked just about everybody that's kind of followed their dream. When did the dream start? Like, when did you decide that's what I want to do? You're tuning in on that AM radio, searching. What made you even begin that?
I don't know.
That's so cool if you don't know. I'm not gonna lie.
My oldest daughter has started to get into game shows. She's 8. And I told her the other day, I said, that was the first thing I wanted to be when I was growing up. I wanted to be Wink Martindale or Jack Barry or Bob Eubanks.
I'd love to see you host a game show.
I loved, well, you saw Pirates Fest, right?
Yeah.
I did.
I was like, Arna, get me on the game shows, our boss. Yeah, I got to do these. I just love that stuff. I don't know. But that's what I wanted to do. And then I was telling you, I started watching the baseball games with my great-grandparents, and I said, well, no, I want to be a baseball broadcaster.
Do you remember how old you were?
Probably 7 or 8 years old.
Wow, that's so cool.
But I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah, but it correlates to, my dream, your all's dream, and the stories are, it's almost in, parallel. It's not an easy task by any stretch. I would almost say it's in some ways harder for you guys because there's less jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So it's remarkable, and I've always wondered with each and every one of you, like, when did it start? At 7 years old.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
No,
I didn't really act on it maybe until I was 14 or so, but that's when I started doing like a public access show, and a couple of high school football game play-by-play, on the local channel, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, then it was like, oh, I really like this, so I kept going from there. So
wow.
Yeah, but Joe, you talk about Michigan State, and I assume journalism communications major, right? And then is your first job out of college doing minor league games down in Charleston, South Carolina, as like a studio host? What was that?
Yeah, so it wasn't even play-by-play. They tantalized you by giving you 8 games. They said you couldn't do 8 games. And I got that job. I went all the way out to Anaheim, winter meetings. I was working as a sports writer. I just had graduated. I worked as a sports writer in Jackson, Michigan, and covered mostly high school stuff. And I just, the calling was there. I could make a decent living as a sports writer. I said, no, I got to do this now. I'm 22. Let's go. So I'm going to give it a try. So I went out to winter meetings. And I had a buddy. Thank goodness. All the stuff that I did, I didn't do it on my own. It's always some influence. The only reason I went to Michigan State is some guy my buddy wanted to take me to a party there. And I had a lot of fun at a party. Like, I'll go to school there. And it turned out to be fantastic.
You had no thoughts of previously?
This guy made a potato gun and was like shooting it at my other buddy, and it was
reason
like,
enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fun. I'm going to.
I'm coming here. Oh, that's great.
That's it.
Wow.
That's the reason I'm.
They obviously had good coffee. They had good coffee.
Yeah, that turns out they had
Always good coffee there too.
Yeah, that's good. And then Charleston. So Charleston, that was owned by Mike Veck, son of Hall of Famer Bill Veck. And what a great human being. And I don't know, I didn't know. I just got a job there. And so the play-by-play and color analysts are going to do the games, and then I'm going to do a radio pregame show for an A-ball team in Charleston, and then a call-in show afterward. Well, not a lot of people are calling.
That had to be one of the first ever in minor leagues. They didn't have that in the minor leagues, did they?
They did it in Charleston, and they did it in maybe New Britain and a couple other places. It was a way for the play-by-play guy is Jim Lucas, and Don Wardlow is the color analyst, and those guys would do that. They would convince the team that hired them to have a pre and post guy to kind of break somebody in, get them into pro baseball, but also to help Don, because Don was born without eyes. So you had to have somebody to help him get around. And so that's kind of what my job was to, drive Don to the ballpark and his seeing eye dog. And then I learned a lot from Don's preparation and how he prepared for games. And then when I got to work with Don, you think about doing games on the radio. Well, you're speaking to somebody who can't see the game. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm having a conversation. Don and I are doing the game. Well, you can't see the game either, and neither can our audience. So anytime I miss something, say, Joe, did Josh Hamilton get to third base on that double? Sorry. And then I'd have to, get a little bit better at my description. So working with him was fantastic. I get immediate, immediate feedback on what I wasn't doing, because he truly did not know what was happening, and he has to base all of his analysis on what I'm saying. Otherwise, he cannot function. So
that's incredible.
It was a really great experience working for Mike Veck. And we still keep in contact, and then Don really taught me a lot really quickly on how to get into this and really do a good job at it. Because he'd take a Braille typewriter, and he'd dictate to his wife what to type, and then he'd type some stuff out, and he'd call guys in their hotel rooms, opposing team, call them in their hotel rooms, get color stuff, go down to the cage. He did a lot of work, and so that's where I got that work ethic from. I said, well, you got to do a lot of preparation to really know your stuff for this. So, because I was really lazy, really lazy. So
that's hard to believe.
It really taught me I got a lot of work to do if I'm going to be any good at this.
What was the craziest promotion they put on down there with Mike Veck?
We had Tanya Harding mini bat night, and this is just a few years.
No, you didn't.
And we got Tanya to come.
No way.
But we didn't tell her it was mini bat night.
Oh my goodness!
So it was funny because I picked her up from the airport. And,
come off it!
Well, that was kind of.
I know that's what you did, but still.
So bringing her in. And
did you talk to her?
Do not tell her.
Did you talk to her about, hey, how are things going? And tell me more about it.
Yeah, just to chit chat, this and that. Bringing her in. I took a picture with her. I remember, and she was super nice. And so she was in there a couple hours before, and she just thought she's signing autographs, and she did sign autographs. Couldn't have been nicer. And then when they kept asking her to sign a bat, sign a mini bat, then she got upset.
What happened?
I think she left. I was not there because I was back in the studio, but yeah, at some point she left.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know if they got her to throw out the first pitch or not, but she was there signing autographs and signing a lot of mini bats.
That is unbelievable.
Taking place.
Did you ask her about? Hey, you still buddies with Nancy Kerrigan?
No.
Didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
No,
didn't bring up anybody.
I'm sure nobody else did either.
Yeah. It was.
So that was just one of many. Crazy
and that worked
promotions.
St. Paul for a couple of years for the Saints back when they were independent club. And
was that Veck also?
Mike.
Wow.
For Mike too. So we did.
Did he get you the gig, by the way? Was that contact?
Yeah, Mike put me in.
Okay.
Yeah, basically said you're going to St. Paul, which was great because my buddy Tom, who comes down to spring training every year and stuff. My best friend since we were 6 years old, and he still lives in the Twin Cities. So I got to be there when his son was born, who was my godson, and so I got to see him, often for his first 2 years of life. So I mean, it's just a lot of cool coincidences and experiences that I've had. So
wow.
So.
By the way, none of this is true.
We're making all of this up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all fake.
That's what baseball's all about, the stories. Doesn't matter if it's factual or not.
I kind of want to, any other promotions from you guys? Because that was
crazy promotions over the years from, besides the Veck family. I mean, famously, the Veck, Mike Veck was a longtime baseball owner and promoter and did some crazy disco demolition night in Chicago that, they had a DJ they flew in between games, a doubleheader on the field at Comiskey, right? Mm-hmm. You know the story better than I did. 79.
Yeah.
Brought in just thousands and thousands of old 45 records, of disco records, and they put it in this big box vault and blew it up literally, and destroyed the field. Well, I guess he was also 10-cent beer night in Texas. No, that was Cleveland. That was Cleveland.
Yeah,
Cleveland,
that was
Texas.
Cleveland, yeah.
But that could have been a Vec thing. It wasn't.
There's a great special on Netflix, Saint of Second Chances, and it talks about him. And that came out, I think, in the fall.
About Mike?
Yeah, about Mike. So that's a neat little thing to see about him. So great guy.
So, but plenty of crazy promotions.
Well, and one of the things, so one of my jobs was to do like the marketing and PR stuff too. So, because you wear so many hats in the minor leagues, and one of the things that he really taught me was to just go for it. Like, if we get an idea, just suggest it. We might do it, and it might fail. Disco Demolition Night didn't turn out, and it was a big sore spot for him. Even though I still think it's great. It's like, so what if you forfeited the game? It's like everyone's still talking about it.
Exactly.
45 years later.
That's right.
It was a great promotion, so you got to try stuff, and you got to take chances, and you got to be bold sometimes, and just see what happens. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does, and it's great. So he taught me that, and that really stuck with me too.
How about any crazy promotion when you were growing up in the minor leagues? Do you remember?
Absolutely.
Besides the bat spin, all the minor leagues do that, which is still hilarious. I don't care how often. I imagine they're still doing it.
My wife did that and actually
Where you put your forehead on the handle. You know this, Joe, of course. The barrel of the bat's on the ground. Mm-hmm. Put your forehead on, you spin around, I think 10 times, 3 different people, and then you try and run on a straight line, like 90 feet. It's hysterical.
It is.
We do it with our kids.
It's so great.
Every Saturday.
Why don't they?
They should
why
do
don't
that.
They do that even in the big leagues? I think that is so much fun to watch. It's hilarious.
Have you seen the spin and they try to actually hit a wiffle ball?
No, I've not seen that.
Oh, it's priceless. But we used to put actual eye black on the end of the bat.
Oh my
so the person doing it would have this big black spot.
Unbeknownst to them.
One night, it was my wife and another wife. And I was like, no, don't put it on that.
Don't do it.
I'm whispering. And she destroyed the other wife. The other wife had this huge black mark. It became a thing. No more wives ran. But the best promotion by far I've ever seen was in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay? They tell us there's going to be little people wrestling. Sure enough, BP's canceled. We're hitting the cage, and there's a ring at home plate. So it's right in my territory. So I get out there an hour and a half early. They turn off the lights. They start to come back on, and these guys swing open the gate, and they just start walking. They don't walk fast. They've got little legs, so they get through about 3 minutes of their walkout song to get out there, and it is the most entertaining, fun event I've ever been to in my entire life.
Where was this again?
Little Rock, Arkansas. Like, we got the game started 30 minutes late and everything because everybody was fired up. There was 10,000 people in the stands. It was amazing. It was a true event, and I would love if the Pirates did something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were coming off the top ropes, doing backflips. It was incredible.
That is.
It really was. It was priceless. It was
There's
hilarious.
so many incredible minor league promotions that for whatever reason you get to the big leagues, and I don't know. I don't know why that is. That major league clubs don't kind of step out of their comfort zones, but it's just the way it is. You can do that in the minor leagues, I guess.
And afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Afraid to take chances.
Yeah.
From there, though, Joe, did you go then do some part-time work for the Montreal Expos while in St. Paul? How'd that happen?
I was actually working in Jacksonville at that time. That was 03 and 04. So their last.
Well, how'd you get to Jacksonville then? By plane. I knew I was coming. I've got to know his wit a little bit. Yeah.
I drove.
Yeah.
I left mine.
What was the car?
It was a Dodge Stratus.
Okay.
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
So let's see. So what happened there was I had started a website for sports broadcasters a long
Call of the
time
Game,
ago.
right?
Call of the Game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. A long time
remember
ago. That was fun. And one of the guy that was doing the English radio, Elliot Price, you remember Elliot? He put on kind of an advertisement on there saying, "Hey, Major League Baseball now owns the Expos, and they have taken my color analyst off the road, so I have to do all the games by myself on the road, so they can save money." So, as a as a courtesy to you, I'm offering 81 road games of Major League Baseball. We'll pay you nothing. We will not put you up. It would come out of my own pocket. We will not give you meal money, but you can do the games if you want to do them. So a lot of people reached out to him, and he reached out to me, just being the guy that runs the site or whatever, and said, well, hey, you're in Jacksonville. How about Atlanta and Miami? I think Tony Bernazard was doing Miami the first year, but I did it the second year.
Tony Bernazard, wow.
Yeah, remember that guy?
Yeah.
Cleveland second baseman.
Yeah.
But so I got a handful of games each year, getting to, not paid or anything, but who cares? I'm 25, 26
Yeah, you're
years
building
old.
a resume.
Doing and seeing how it works.
Yeah.
Really actually doing the game.
Good for you.
So I got to call the middle 3 innings, and be the color analyst for the rest of the time. But really seeing how it worked, and Elliot was so great. Just telling me how this works, and how, going into the clubhouse and riding the bus in. Because I said I'm going to do it the way that they do it. I paid the money to stay at the hotel. I'm going to come in on the bus and do it just the way he does it, so I can see what everything's like. So, and it was a great experience. I really didn't. Okay, you were this far away. You were super far because you're not doing these 100 things. So start doing these 100 things so you can get there. So it was really valuable experience.
Couple years?
Yeah, the last 2 years.
How many
we were in
total
Montreal.
games do you think you did? Any idea?
8 or 9.
Yes. For
Just a handful of games.
Yeah.
It was great.
Unbelievable experience.
Oh yeah, I mean, so I was going to do games at Joe Robbie, and then one of the hurricanes was going to come through, so they moved the games to U.S. Cellular. So I drove from Jacksonville to Chicago to do the game instead.
Wow.
This is the stuff, like, I love hearing it because you and I talk to...
I'm not giving up those games.
You and I talk to kids.
Good for you.
Younger people that want to get in the business.
I drove.
And literally say, like, you got to be willing to do stuff that you never maybe dreamed about doing.
Yeah.
How badly do you want it?
You say
How
yes and
badly-
figure it out.
If you want it badly enough, you will do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's an example of it. Like, there's no thought about money.
No.
He's spending money to
Yeah,
try.
because you have a bigger picture, right? You
Yeah,
have a bigger
yeah, that's
why,
right,
what
right.
you want to do.
Yeah.
I do. So I've heard this a couple times now, Brownie. And Joe, what is the 3 innings? So I'm not aware, like, you guys do the whole game, but you guys continue to
Did
talk
you only
about...
catch 3 innings of a game? No, you're like,
No,
I'm
you
in.
played
I'm
the
in for
whole
the whole
game,
game.
Hey,
right?
McKenry,
Yeah,
go in there
yeah,
and
yeah.
catch those 3 innings,
So
and then
We're
you're
not
done.
as strong as you. We
That's
can
right,
only
that's
work
right, that's
part of
right.
it.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so...
We build up over the years.
So yeah, you're kind of like a starting pitcher, I guess, right? Right? You got to build up your innings. Like, what is that?
Well, we
when
watch
did
a
it
starting
start?
pitcher
When
do the
did it
first
stop?
3, and then we come in. We're the middle 3. We're the
You're talking just the other day, like you would be there, you'd be taking notes, listening, and then you'd emulate, the person who did the first 3 innings. When did that start? When did it stop? And why were they doing it? That makes no sense to me. Did you like it?
Yeah, because in other sports they don't do that.
No, I never even.
Well, there other sports aren't as long a season. Back then, now they had
Yeah.
basically 2 guys doing radio, and radio was it back in the day.
But even when you said when you started TV, it was still like that a little bit,
Well,
right?
true, but we were only doing, when I started out with the Pirates, only probably maybe half the games on TV. So you still had...
So it's still 81
80
games. That's a basketball season.
Right, of
So,
radio,
like-
but it's every night. It's still,
Yeah.
on the air. And so you basically had 2 guys, again, this is years ago, that you had the voice of the team, who was the primary broadcaster. He would do most of the play-by-play, but he didn't want to do all 9 innings, couldn't go the distance, didn't get a complete game.
What?
Needed time off. So in the middle 3 innings, whoever it would be, not just the Pirates, just about every broadcast did it this way. And that main guy would stretch his legs, go back to the press box, grab a cup of coffee, and
It's really about the coffee.
It's about the
number
coffee. I
2
get
guy
it
would
now.
do the middle 3 innings, and just kind of, that's how.
Great for you guys that are trying to get into it,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but like, you would hate that now, wouldn't you? Like, you
Not
guys would,
starting out, I would do it in a heartbeat.
yeah, starting. I'm saying, like, now that you guys are the one, the
I mean,
ace,
I wouldn't want.
that's weird,
Now
right?
I wouldn't want to do just 3 innings every night.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
I mean,
or
when
even
I-
the 6 innings.
When I was in Milwaukee working with Bob Uecker, everyone wants to hear Bob Uecker, but he gets a break, right? So I'd come in and do 3, 4, 7, third, fourth inning, seventh inning.
Really?
So that gives a little time off.
He just didn't like the sixth?
You know what he was doing most of the time? He was signing autographs. Like he'd go through his mail. You know,
Or the fifth, yeah.
I've tried to follow some of these broadcasts even now, and I've wondered about that with Milwaukee. I'll hear we all do this.
Yeah.
We listen to other games when the Pirates are off, and we're in other cities. We're listening in our earbuds, whatever we're doing, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to that. The middle three makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, the primary guys is the first three and the last three, and then the reliever comes in for the middle.
Yeah.
But to do that, where'd that come up?
I guess it's
3, 4,
just
7.
so he's not gone for too long.
Yeah.
You know, well, he'll be back in a couple innings.
Yeah.
Joe's on for right now, so I won't turn it off because he'll be back soon. You know, so I don't know.
Well, but
Yeah.
what? Okay, let's say Corbin Burns is throwing an absolute. He just got traded, but
Orioles pitcher.
yeah. Now the Orioles pitcher, but like say he's throwing. It's the fourth inning.
I still can't believe it.
He's not leaving if he's got a no hitter, right? He's not leaving.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
No, is he staying?
I did the middle 3 innings of the first ever combined no-hitter, extra inning no-hitter in baseball history.
Brownie, you'd have to kill me.
And Ricardo Rincon. But I was the middle 3 innings, so the first 3 no-hitter, 4, 5, 6 no-hitter. I mean,
Who did
sorry.
the 10th?
Yeah, beat it, nerd. I got it.
Landy
Okay,
did, yeah.
So the way that it worked with Euchre and I, or whoever was still in Milwaukee,
Oh, the deal was extra innings. I'm doing. Oh, okay.
I do the 10th.
Oh, wow.
He'll do the 11th.
flip-flop.
Yeah.
Back
So
and
if it was a 10 inning no hitter, I would have ended up finishing the
Wow.
no hitter.
Wow.
Wow,
Isn't that weird?
That's
Very
crazy
weird.
to me.
Yeah.
That's like taking the ball out of the starting pitcher's hand.
I'd be like,
in my mind.
2 outs, 2 strikes, and here's Euchre. I'm like, I'm not doing this. They're going to be mad about this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's the deal. That's the deal
Yeah.
they signed up for.
Yeah.
And
But it is. I never thought about that, Michael. Like in the other sports, all right, fourth quarter. Here's Bob.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's wild to me because I
I'm
never
going to do
even.
the second quarter and the third quarter. You do the first and the fourth.
2 minute warning.
Overtime,
We'll be back with Bob. after
overtime.
that.
You do the first 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then anyhow.
That's wild.
So
Thank you for that,
Are we
guys.
getting you off track, Brownie?
Not at all. Are you kidding? We're
That's my job.
Yeah.
Is to get us off track.
tell us about the Jacksonville gig. That's AA with the Dodgers, right?
Yeah, at that time. Yeah.
The Suns. About 4 years there.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I made it that long.
Why?
Because the ownership there at that time had an edict, a rule that broadcasters no more than 3 years, and then you're fired.
Make
what?
that make sense.
So well,
Wow.
that's why I was like, I better get the Expos games. I'm like, I better get some experience because I know I have 3 years here, and I got that job pretty
That's
early.
worse than having to do just the middle 3 innings there for it.
Yeah, you're
bad
looking
deal.
at
That's
your
a bad
end
deal.
date.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like you better live your life well for 3
Yes,
years.
yes.
I got
It's
3,
gonna-
4, and 5, and that team won the championship in 05. So I'm like, they won the championship. I'm like, that's my last ever call. Oh, that's great. So I already, I'm like, I know I'm done. And then he told me, you're done. And
So he did tell you you're done.
yeah, sure. Like
That was the deal.
Yeah, they're like, here's your ring. You're fired. Okay, great.
As you know, you're
Yeah.
fired.
As you know.
And here's your ring.
Yeah.
Good
Great
luck.
call.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. But then what was weird about it was, you said 4 years, and you're right. So I was like, all right, well, I'm in here in Jacksonville. I'm trying for some other jobs. I'd interviewed for a couple like AAA number 2 jobs, didn't get them. Nothing's panning out, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm in Jacksonville. I'm going to stay in Jacksonville, and there was a sports talk station. It's the only terrestrial, like over the air station to expand to 50,000 watts after 1983. It just happens to be in Jacksonville, Florida.
What?
That off season,
Come off.
it's starting.
What station?
1010XL in Jacksonville. So
What a trivia
it's
question that
only
is.
time since after 1983, and it'll never happen again. I mean,
No.
it's gonna.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's like-
wild.
and it's in my city that I'm living in when I'm looking for work. So I hooked on with this group
My goodness.
as a sports talk guy, and they were paying a ridiculous salary, like double what I was making as a play-by-play guy. But at the time, they hadn't launched yet, but they're like, we can get him, and I like threw out this ridiculous figure, and they're like, yeah, we'll pay that. I'm like,
Jeez.
it was double what I was making.
Nice.
So now I wasn't making making much, but double
still,
when you're not making much and you're making
double is
2
double.
times 0 is still 0.
Well, and think back when you were driving up to Chicago from Florida for the expos when you were paying.
I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I like this. So they said, we're going to launch in like a month. So what we're going to do is they had bought a Christian talk and music station on the AM, 10:10 AM, and they took it over. And so what they're going to do is, before they launch, they're going to kind of like sprinkle in some sports talk. So they said, you can have a show, and you have to, we're paying you. Now, if you want to have other people, you pay them or whatever, and then we'll do it for real, So I brought on a couple of co-hosts for, they said, just give us a couple bucks or whatever. They were having fun, and we had a lot of fun. So it's Christian music, Christian talk, 3 hours of sports. Come on, and then it was hilarious. And I'm making, like I said, beautiful. I was like, this is more money I've ever made. And they were supposed to go on the air, launch in a month, and then it was 2 months, and then it was like 6 or 7 months before they actually launched. So I'm just making this on this Christian music station, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm like, so now baseball season rolls around, and they're about to launch, coming up on launching. I said, hey, I'm with these guys, and I'm gonna have a talk show. You're going to want me to talk about, the Jacksonville Suns. So I tried to leverage that. And they said, all right, well, you can do the middle 3 innings.
Stop it. No.
So they brought me back because they hired a young kid to do the games.
Back to do the middle 3.
And
Here we
back
go
to do
again.
the middle 3.
And they gave me 3/4 of what I was making before to do the middle 3 of home games only.
After they fired you after 3 years.
After they fired me, they brought me back, gave me about 3/4 what I was making to do middle 3 home games. And I was still getting paid by the radio station.
Good for you.
So now I'm like, well, that worked out great.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, but now radio station, they sent me to nights. They cut my salary in half. And I said, well, I'm going to leave. And I left immediately. And I was still doing that website I was telling you about that was the last year of it. And the Great Falls, Montana team said, our broadcaster, he was doing NBA games. He quit at the last second, and the season starts in a week. And they said, can we put an ad on your website? I said, you can, but you got a guy if you want him right now. And they're like, you want to come up here? I go, yeah, sounds fun. I've never been to Montana, So literally in a span of a week, I went from doing this talk show in Jacksonville, got my pay cut in half, and then I said I'm going to go do the games in Great Falls. So,
wow,
because I wasn't doing Jacksonville Suns games anymore that year. They didn't give me a second year of that crazy deal that I somehow worked on. So I took off and went to Montana in my Dodge Stratus. Actually, no, my Dodge Stratus died right before. The day before I left, that's right. I had to rent a car to go out there.
Oh, man. How long were you out there, by the way?
For that season.
Just for that season.
The 2.5 month season.
And then,
Pioneer League.
And then you get the Dodger gig? Talk show?
That was
after
4
that?
Years after that.
What did you do in the meantime?
I went to New Orleans. I got a job in New Orleans for the NBA team. They're the Pelicans now. They were the Hornets, and that came up through that website right before. It was a week before the season ended in Great Falls, and I'm like, I got to go back to Jacksonville. I still had all my stuff in Jacksonville. I had a roommate. I just said, well, I'll pay you the rent. It was still next to nothing, I'll pay you the rent so I can leave my stuff there, and you can have the place to yourself. I'll pay my share of it. And I was going to just come back to Jacksonville. I go, I've burned every bridge in the city. I don't know where I'm, how can I do anything in Jacksonville? I'm going to have to find a place to work. And then the New Orleans thing came out of nowhere, like the last week of the baseball season.
But did you burn bridges in Jacksonville?
Well, I mean, I quit the radio station. Well, I've been fired twice now.
Well, yeah, but
baseball team.
No, but everybody gets fired from that one station all the time. So you can't count that. That was the 3-year expiration date thing.
The Jaguars weren't going to hire me, so it was like, but the Hornets did, and
so
I ended up meeting my wife in New Orleans. So it was a great deal.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
but you went from baseball to basketball. How was that transition?
Well, I didn't know.
Because they're not similar.
Well, I didn't know a tenth as much about basketball.
So there was a lot
Some
of
may say I
prep.
may not know anything about baseball, so you can imagine how,
That is not true.
how the audience was listening to those things. But I worked with great guys. The late Jerry Valancourt was the color analyst, and he would join me on post game and talk basketball because he knew, I'm here I can edit audio. So here's what because I ran the radio network, kind of like what our boss does. And did but all the production and everything, commercials and show elements and things like that. So they knew I could do all that stuff. So you can also host the pre and post
So you just
halftime show.
kept holding on to that part.
Yeah. So that was to me. I said this is a big step because now I'm in a major league sport. It's one of the things, and I'm sure you say the same thing whenever somebody asks young broadcaster, okay, what advice do you have? I said, well, give people as few reasons to say no to you as possible.
Good advice.
And so, all right, well, I'm a minor league announcer. Well, I got to do something in a major league sport. Otherwise, I'm a minor league announcer. So at least, maybe I'm not doing play-by-play, but I'm doing the pre- and post-game show. And so that was another step forward for me. And plus, I got to live in New Orleans.
Jeez.
Which, by the way, happy Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras is always,
When we're filming this, sorry, I just dated it. You can edit.
No, you're good. But that's something that I think is really, really neat. Is
No, it'll be 2025 by the time.
All right, just
that's true. That's true. Next Mardi Gras. But you guys seem to wear a lot of hats. I mean, I know you got into PR and marketing and different things. And
otherwise, I get sunburn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. But is that the greatest advice? Just kind of learn the entire industry so you have the ability to help in any way you can, so you don't have to say no. Because it's hard to move up the ladder, but if you are able to do more things, it obviously going to give you a chance to show, hey, I have this ability, I'm willing to do this. So there's a willingness, and then there's a continued growth.
Well, I mean, how did you start with the Pirates?
Well, same thing. It's very similar. When I went up to Buffalo, I thought I was just going to be doing baseball, 3 innings. That's what
That's crazy.
And set the radio
You guys
network
are
up.
middle relievers. It's
A
nuts.
handful of stations to carry the Buffalo games, and then it morphed into sports talk and news and everything, and then the Bills, and that's what put for me. I'd never talked to anybody about this. I think it's true because I got rejected. I don't know if I've ever told you that. I applied for the job the first time with the Pirates. Did you know that?
Oh wow, yeah.
John Sanders was doing play-by-play, and he went to Cleveland, then the Indians. So the job opened up after I was up in Buffalo for a year, having been in the front office, and I was told that move was probably coming. And I thought, put a year up in Buffalo, here I go. I'll be right back doing Pirates baseball. But I got turned down.
Yeah.
And then, though, when I got the Bills gig, I think that put me on just like you're saying. I was doing minor league baseball, then all of a sudden I'm an NFL announcer going to Super Bowls. I think they go like, whoa, maybe this guy is legit.
Yeah.
So I think it sounds like a similar
With
gig.
all the baseball experience, you kind of just, all right, check the box.
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason you can say no now is you don't like me.
Yeah. Right.
It's not experience.
Yeah. Great advice.
So, yeah.
That's so good. And you guys, you can't complain about the starter ever again. The opener, because you guys originated it.
Well, we worked the full 9, Michael.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Now you do. But originally, you guys had an opener.
True, but there are guys, there are pitchers that can't go full 9 right away. They go a few innings,
you had
and
to work
then
your way up.
they build up.
I get it.
What they're doing now is the opposite. Actually, now it's like we were doing and are doing 9. Now it'd be like saying, no, now you're only going to do 3.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. They're going backwards.
Joe, Greg, do the lineup once, and then we're going to change broadcast.
That sounds like
maybe
our
get you through
analyst.
2 broadcasters.
Yeah, line up once and then don't talk again.
That's right. That's right. Hey, by the way, what did you think of doing sports talk? And do you think you were any good at it?
No, I was terrible.
Come on.
Oh,
hey, by the way,
why would you be terrible?
That lighter would be nice to have over here.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Pass
sorry,
along.
Sorry, I'm done using it.
No, don't feel the need. By the way, you don't have to.
Yeah.
That's just a prop.
I just
You don't
chomp on
have to.
But my style, like I knew that, and I knew this at the time, and I just was like, here's information. Here's I just like being middle of the road. Here's I'm not going to create this like drastic take, phony take on something. I just wanted to tell you I went to Jaguars camp today, and here's what they're doing, and here's some sound from some of the players, and here's what Jack Del Rio said, and so I was kind of like a reporter more than but I wanted the other guys and gals that I had on with me to kind of comment on that. So I like being like the anchor. So I wasn't really a talk show.
That's interesting because you're very opinionated.
Off the air.
So that's why I bet he's pretty good.
He didn't let that side
as a
out.
talk show guy.
I don't know why. I just couldn't maybe you know why? Because I didn't know what I was talking about. Like I was talking about the NFL,
Again, that's what I'm saying. That you'd be a really good talk show host.
Hey, like,
not know what you're talking. That's my point.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah.
No. I did it too. I was no expert, but I was successful talk show host, and many are that aren't experts at their field.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wondered. That's wild.
And I thought I was bad.
That's funny. I bet
But we did a lot of game shows.
Oh, wow, you're good at that.
We had a password.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we had fun with that.
So you do the game. So now you're in New Orleans, and then you go from there to LA.
Yes.
How'd that open up? You did talk like Dodger talk.
Yeah, you realize nothing you're doing is close.
Oh yeah. So in my basement, I didn't get a license plate from some places I wasn't there long enough to get a license plate, but I went back and bought a license plate from every state I lived and worked in, and there's 10 of them up there.
Isn't that cool?
Which is really crazy. And it's like, I love that, Pennsylvania, that's it. There's no more room, by the way. It fits 10 perfectly on this little ledge. And so it's like very clear, that's the end. And so it's funny that we're going through all this stuff because I'm like, wow, I really did all this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I forgot. I'm very comfortable. Was living and working and having fun in New Orleans. Met my wife there. And I spent one summer where I didn't try to do baseball. I wasn't trying to kill it. I was just like, I'm just going to party and have fun. And that was the summer that I really got to know my wife, just coincidentally, largely coincidentally, and that we started dating, and that's that. But right before that spring in 2009, the Dodgers, Vin Scully had pulled off the air to the point where they couldn't just have a hodgepodge of guys. I guess I can't use that word around here, but they had. Sorry, Yak.
That's a reference to Dennis Eckersley.
Yes,
an ode to the Yak.
Yes.
The Yak Man.
Yes.
For you Bucko fans, look that up. Google that.
Yes. So, so they wanted to bring somebody in to do about 60 games for TV, and Josh Rowich, who now is the president of the Hall of Fame, he was their main guy, and I went back to Jacksonville with him. He was one of their PR guys when I was working for one of their minor league teams, and we'd correspond all the time. Hey, I need a headshot of Yancy Brazaban. All right, I'll send it to you right away. Can you get this or that for? Yeah, sure. So I always helped him out, and he in turn was always really good to me. And he said, hey, I know you enough. I'd like to, bring you out to audition for this. And I was stunned. So I went to Glendale spring training and auditioned, called 2 games with Steve Lyons, and they were broadcast on the web and everything. So all the Dodger fans could. This is just as social media starting up too. They could all watch and then comment who they liked, and so I was just like so nervous. And one of the games I got to do was against the Korean national team for the World Baseball Classic. So it was a challenge.
Pronunciations were really easy.
Yeah, so it was very interesting to do that. But Lyons was great to work with, and it was a really cool experience. I didn't get the gig, but I guess Josh liked me enough to keep me in mind. So I'm in New Orleans. It's my 4th season there, and I'd been interviewing for some big league jobs. There were some opportunities that didn't quite work out, but getting close. It felt close. And now, not only am I dating Beth, but I just proposed to her, and she was living here in Pittsburgh, and she had moved back to Pittsburgh because when you grew up in Pittsburgh, you want to live in Pittsburgh. You know, I mean, it's like this. Now I know why. So. So she'd come back for a visit. I proposed to her. She's still on the same visit for a week. We're out to dinner with my roommate and her fiance celebrating. She had just got engaged, my roommate, a couple months prior. So it's like, hey, we're all engaged. It's a great time in life. And I get a call from a 323 number, Los Angeles. Don't know what it is. And then I go to the bathroom and listen to voicemail, and it's Rowich calling me out of the clear blue sky. Hey, we got an opportunity to host Dodger Talk. Are you interested? I didn't apply for anything. I just proposed to my wife 3 days ago, and we're going to be in New Orleans. This is great. She's told her family. You know, she's moving back to New Orleans. So I finish dinner, and we go back to my place, and I say, "Well, what do you think about Los Angeles?"
Jeez.
She hasn't even gone home to show her parents the ring, or her sister the ring, or anything like that. And we're just crying on my bed and just talking about it. And it's just like, oh my God, yeah. And she's like, yeah, you got to do this. I don't know what. I guess what we'll do is we'll get married in Pittsburgh, and then I'll come out to LA, and we'll just stay apart for the rest of the baseball season. Because now it's like the baseball season started in a few weeks.
What a great woman, huh? We all have them.
In baseball or sports, tremendous support, and Beth is no exception. So, so we ended up living apart even longer. I did the whole baseball season out in LA. Come back, we get married in Scott Township, and then we drive out to LA. And we go out on our honeymoon, we come back, and a week later I get let go from Dodgers.
No.
They switched flagship stations. I was working for the station, not the team. So now I've just moved her to LA. I've done a season. I'm out, and Rowich has gone to Arizona. There goes my sponsor with the Dodgers. I don't have anywhere to work, and we're 3,000 miles from home. So I don't know what we were going to do. I was doing a few basketball games, but I'm just making phone calls. She's like, well, we got to figure out something. She wasn't she was positive about it, And a month to the day after I got the call saying, no, you're out, it's 2 days before Christmas, the Brewers called me and said, you're hired, you're going to be a play-by-play announcer. I had dinner with Bob Uecker and a week before that, and I don't know, what are the odds of all this stuff? All this stuff's true, I swear, it really is.
Well, we got to talk more with Joe Block about this an unbelievable journey and where he is now, and we're going to look forward to that during our next episode of Hold My Cutter.